Okay.
I'll be doing many, many things. Okay.
Recording in
And
progress.
oh no, well technically it's not recording because it's live. And
Yeah,
we are
Civic
live.
live right now.
Hey everybody. You are watching and listening to the We Are Rizin podcast. This is your host, Andrew Benjamin. I am joined by my co-host in a very, very, very hot part of Texas right now, Jay Christian Gary for Focus Fights.
Hey, y'all. I wish I could say the same, but it actually just got through raining. And in addition to that, we'd like to extend our gratitude towards all those people that actually support us, like Anna from Indonesia, and especially this guy, JayWolf from NorCal, who's just so giddy about what happened in Bellator last night. What say you, Jay?
Absolutely, bro. Thank you, Rose, for having me on here. This is awesome. Jay Chris, just a quick correction. I'm SoCal, Southern California, not NorCal, but California.
My apologies, because I know you like to frequent SoCal events and NorCal events.
Absolutely. I love California. I love it here. And you can tell from my dude bro, excellent epic language from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles influence. No, but seriously, I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I mean, you guys know from the Rizin Discord chat, everything. I'm really looking forward to this event right here. This Landmark 5 event. I'm so excited for this. I can't begin to describe for you guys. Well, actually, I can. This is gonna put the epic in Epic Rizin. It's gonna show you why I call this epic, because this cage event. I mean, on this show, we're gonna preview the entire card, and we're gonna go through the positives about the cage versus the ring, and hopefully settle that debate. It's gonna be such a fun show, and I just can't wait to get into it with you guys. I mean, it just and again, I can't thank you enough for having me here and doing this show and having content that's non-UFC and for Epic Rizin here and for an Epic Rizin Landmark Cage series event. This is just going to be so much fun. I can't wait. So, yes. And Jay Chris, to follow up what you were saying, yeah, last night Bellator had a badass knockout of the year candidate with Patchy Mix doing an incredible bantamweight Grand Prix run, and this goes to show that the talent worldwide, including in Epic Rizin, is there. And for the lighter weight divisions especially. So that's why you don't want to be dismissing any promotion besides the UFC just because it doesn't have the UFC brand on it. There's talent worldwide, especially in the lighter weight division, and this card right here is going to show that. This is going to be amazing. And just real quick, since for the intro, just want to put it out there that the cage, the Rizin Cage series, these are historic. Okay, and I'll tell you exactly why. This is the first time since the original UFC that the full superior rule set, allowing full pride rules, talk about soccer kicks, stomps, grounded knees, grounded up kicks, 12-6 elbows, the whole the whole enchilada. This is the first time since the original UFC that has been allowed in the cage. That is part of why it is so historic. And the Epic Rizin Land Cage series events, they have an incredible percentage right now on exciting shows. They've only had 4 full superior rule set in the cage events. First it started with Trigger, and then it became Landmark. There's only been 4 so far, 4 full events so far of the superior rule set in the cage. And out of those 4 events, 2 of them have been event of the year candidates. That means that there is a 50% chance that this Landmark 5 event could be an event of the year candidate. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So I just wanted to put that out there, how historic this is. And I'm so excited to do this show with you guys. So again, thank you for having me on, and thank you for that wonderful.
You're welcome, dude. You're welcome. And just to clarify, Rizin Landmark 5 at the Yoyogi National Gymnasium First Stadium will take place this upcoming weekend, April 30th, from Yoyogi National Gymnasium in Shibuya, Tokyo, Japan. The event will air live on Fight TV and the Fight TV app starting at, if I'm not mistaken, around
4 a.m. for me. That's all I know. I think it's 4 a.m. and I think 1 a.m. for you, right, JayWolf?
Well, yes. Yeah. 4 a.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Pacific, 3 a.m. Central Time. And the event, if you get it now on Fight TV, it'll cost $30. If you get both.
Oh, yes. I forgot. Yeah, they just released a bundle. I feel bad, though, because Captain from the Discord bought both separately. And then a few days later, they released a bundle. So that's why you always wait whenever they have two shows. I was wondering, yes. I figured that they're going to do a bundle because it would make no sense to not have a bundle.
Like, yes,
yeah, I was telling you guys, I was promising, I was like, it's got to be bundled. And what happened? Fight TV bundled it. Fantastic.
Yes, of course. The event costs $30 if you get that event and Rizin 42 in the Rizin bundle, which will be half off the price of you getting both events separately for $60 in total. Check out fight.tv for more information. # fight like you mean it. But
JayWolf, sorry, Chris. JayWolf, before we get into the show, a new segment I like to do because I think it's very deserving is talking about Rizin posters, as you can see behind me. We can all agree that probably Rizin posters are the best in the biz.
Hands down, by far, by a country mile.
So in terms of Rizin poster love, where does this one stand among the best? Well, I think we can all agree the best is the Bellator Rizin one from 2022, I in my opinion. But where does this one stand with the four main fighters facing off? In the background is a Yogi Stadium with a sunset. I want to get your thoughts, Joe.
I like it because you gotta put pair. Do you have the 42 poster available? Because they're kind of like a pair. They got they got the one right here for trigger. I mean, excuse me, the one right here for landmark, and then the other one for the numbered event for 42. So and they put them side by side. They're both. They got the main card fighters right there in the front on like a paved brick pavement type of thing, and in the background there's the arena that they're fighting at, and then in the sunset, and they're both, and they got the sun like right in the middle. So if you put them side by side, it's like one sunset, and then it looks like on the landmark poster it's got a blue sky in the background, and on the 42 poster it's like a red sky background. So it's like it's going from like the dawn until the sunset. It looks like on the poster, put them side by side. So individually, of course, I'm not going to rank them up there with the Epic Rizin 20 poster where they had the Statue of Liberty coming, and it shows in the background Tokyo and Mount Fuji, and so that was just next level poster. That was Almighty Pride FC poster level, and there's been several of them before in the Epic Rizin. Like we posted several of them in the Discord chat, and everybody shout out to this. Everybody should get into that Rizin Discord chat. It's a lot of fun. A lot of great fans in there, and we have these conversations all the time in there, and have a good time. Aside from Drew's trolling, it's probably the best chat room on the net. Period.
Of course, it's the best fight. Of course, it's the best fight chat room on the net because we don't shut down after a few weeks when trolls take it over.
Yeah, we fight the trolls. Drew is the troll.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. You must be talking about different Discord.
No, because you even tweeted it out. The trolling spilled over onto Twitter when you tweeted out the preview for the show saying I was a PFL historian, and then I tried to reply and I messed up my reply. I was saying that I was supposed to say an inferior rule set promotion like PFL, but I left out the rule set. I put in an inferior promotion. It still works because they're still both. PFL is inferior because one, they don't allow elbows, ridiculous, and two, their format has been pussified. They used to have one night Grand Prix playoffs where you had to win 2 fights in one night for their playoff structure, and they did away with that. So they pussified themselves by not allowing one night GP playoffs and by allowing no elbows. So that's why I had to respond with animosity to that tweet when you put it that I was a PFL historian. So no more of that, Drew. Okay, no more trolling here.
So you're not a PFL historian. Is that correct? You're not a PFL historian? I thought you were.
Oh, unfortunately, I've seen probably every single one, and I even went to the events when it was World Series of Fighting, including the famous event where World Series of Fighting was in the gymnasium while they were having a volleyball tournament going on in the background. I was there for that one, and it was, even though it was hilarious, but at the same time it was a lot of fun as well. So I guess I kind of am a historian, but I just don't like the pussified direction that PFL is taking. Let's just put it that way.
Okay,
All
fair
I
enough.
can say about that, Jay, is you were just happy that it was at a multi-purpose arena, because if you thought the fights were boring, all you could do is look at the volleyball chicks' asses.
Yeah, exactly. They have some great asses. Well, you know what? I don't remember. I don't remember if it was college or high school, but if it was college, yes, I agree with you. If it was high school, no, that's too close to jailbait.
Yeah, of course. Let's move on. Why don't we?
Yes, let's do it. You want to preview this card, or Drew? You want to fight me about the cage versus the ring?
No, I told you that's another day. That's another day. That's another day. Another day, another time.
Let's go ahead and let's talk about this card, because there's only 9 fights to talk about, especially considering that one, Mikio Ueda versus Caliu Gilbrain de Oliveira, got scrapped due to Caliu Gilbrain having visa issues.
Which is funny, because I thought he was in Japan. Because remember, he was fighting when like it was still hard to bring foreigners in. So I thought he was in Japan, because they had him do Rise kickboxing fights. Then he did the Rise in matches. So I thought he was one of those Brazilians who just lived in Japan. Maybe he did. Maybe he went back to Japan. I don't know. I think they could have easily found another opponent for Ueda, but for some reason they didn't. I don't know why.
Yeah, but it was probably gonna be hard to fly in or bring in another opponent for Mikio Ueda with less than a week's notice.
No, the heavyweights in Japan. You got big boys in Japan.
Big boys, but not that many.
I
mean, come on. There's not that many heavyweight fighters in Japan.
Easiest fight I could think of. Easiest fight. You could have asked Taka Kenshin, Sudario's brother. You could have asked Ryo Sakai, Andy Kong. Yeah, it's not like there was no. I just don't. It just seems, because they rarely ever just cancel fights. They'll find an opponent like for the first fight, another opponent, and it's almost like I don't know. It's weird, because they rarely ever just completely cancel a fight, unless it's like a day's notice or something like that. Very rare.
Didn't they cancel it like barely last week or the week before? So it's only like going to be like 2 to 3 weeks notice.
Yeah, that's a lot of time to find somebody. Now you may not be able to get a foreigner, but you could easily find a heavyweight in Japan. But hopefully those visa issues get cleared, and we can see Mikio Ueda hopefully get a win in Rise and become 2-1.
Of course.
Also, Jay Krish, it's only 8 fights, because the Johnny Case fight is also off because Case had a knee injury.
What I'm seeing, there's actually 9, and we can get to that first fight right then and there, because Johnny Case did get injured. We send our thoughts and condolences to him, because coming back from a leg injury ain't easy. I mean, come on. Look at all the most devastating sports injuries that involve leg injuries. Those are not easy to come back from, and I hope that Johnny Case defies the odds. But in the meantime, Johnny Case has there was a replacement opponent for Ali Abdulkalikov, who will be making his second Rizin Fighting Federation appearance, his first in about 4 years, when he takes on Tatsuya Yanbo Saika. Now, do we have any information on Tatsuya Yanbo Saika aside from the fact of he's just coming in as a late replacement?
Oh yeah, he's a fire and Pancras, title contender of Pancras. He's finished all of his fights. So JayWolf, you should be a fan of him. He's like the inverse of Abdul Kalikov, who never finishes his fights. Funny enough. Both have lost in Rizin. Saika last time fought Kimihiro Eto and got basically his ass kicked. And then Abdul Kalikov, Kawajiri was one who beat him many moons ago. Actually, that was Kawajiri's last win in MMA That's how long ago it was, if you could believe that.
Wow.
So, yeah, they're bringing him back. I'll be honest, I'm not so sure. I'm not sure why, but we got two people who have lost in Rizin trying to get a win. So, also, I consulted the best translators in Japan, and Yambo basically translates to badass. So,
Nice.
little extra information there. But JayWolf, I'll tell you, this is the fight that I have very little, little faith in. It's the one I at least care about. I'll put it that way. I think overall the card looks great. This fight is like, meh, whatever. What are your thoughts on this fight?
Well, this is a late replacement fight, right? This is getting
Yes.
Ali Abdullah Khalif. This is getting him a replacement fighter, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why. I mean, it's cool that they actually found a replacement fighter, and that Ali's still staying on the card, so we can have some more foreign talent in the Epic Rizin. But how do you say that nickname again? Badass in Japan?
Yeah, that's what it translates to.
No,
Yambo.
Was it
Yanbo.
Yanbo?
YANBO. Yeah.
Yanbo, badass. I like that. I like that a lot. Hopefully he lives up to that nickname. And look, even though it is a late replacement, again, this is fought under the full superior rule set. And this is in a cage too. There is something about the full superior rule set, full pride rules being allowed in the cage that brings the action. This is historic. Again, let me just reiterate this, because this is the first time that the full superior rule set, I'm talking grounded sucker kicks, stomps, grounded knees, grounded up kicks, 12-6 elbows, the entire enchilada, the whole enchilada of strikes is allowed. This is the first time in the cage that has happened since the original UFC. Okay, one championship had it a little bit, but they only allowed soccer kicks and grounded knees. And it was so violent in one championship, they only allowed it for a little bit, like about a year. And then they put Chatri pushed out the sponsors and did away with banned soccer kicks and suplex slams. And you see how their product has suffered since then. But before that, after Sylvia Arlovsky 5, when they start allowing full soccer kicks in one championship in the cage, it was so freaking awesome, so much fun. And again, you've seen what's happened in Rizin with the trigger events and now the landmark events. They've had 4 full events, and out of those 4, 2 of them have been event of the year candidates.
But Jay, what about the fight?
This is a late replacement. So Yambo, I'm rooting for him since his nickname is badass in Japan. But at the same time, Ali is a foreign fighter coming in there, and we've been wanting to see that. So it's hard to pick. I guess I'm going to pick Ali because he's been training and it's not a short notice replacement, but you just never know.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Jay Chris, we got one guy who finishes everybody that he fights, and then one guy who never seemingly finishes everybody who he fights. How do you think this fight's going to go?
Well, I'm basically having to look at the records from their last Rizin appearance now that I have all their stats up and stuff. Ali Abdul Khalikov is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and that dates all the way back to losing to Tatsuya Kawajiri at Rizin 17 back in July of 2019, of which he only managed to get 1 finish. So while he can dominate opponents, it's going to be hard for him to try and pull a rabbit out of the hat on this one. When you look at Yambo, Tatsuya Saika, on the other hand, he's 2-0 in his last couple of fights since losing to Kimihiro Eto at Rizin Trigger the Third back in April 2022, which was one of the first Rizin events to feature a cheering crowd without, all the COVID restrictions. But yeah, going back to your point about the fact that Saika loves beating up people, all 9 of his wins are by way of knockout. I mean, so you have to really think that Saika is going to be really talked about, even though this is last minute for him. He's pretty much ready to fight at a moment's notice. I think that if Ali Abdulkalikov doesn't, try and plan accordingly for him, like he's not facing anybody other than Johnny Case, I think Saika's going to probably finish off Ali in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, the case fight would have been interesting because it would have definitely been, interesting foreigner versus foreigner fight, but also we get to see, because Case, obviously, his last opponent was supposed to be Luis Gustavo, but then it got changed to Tyson Osawa, and obviously that was a very easy fight for Case to win, as the way the fight went. And so the problem, so this fight, you have a Russian who wrestles and holds people down. Now, luckily in Japan,
let me guess. Let me go ahead and take a wild guess. We're gonna have a grapple festival.
Well, here's the thing, Jay, when you talk about the superiority of the cage, one of the great things about the cage is that it makes it actually a little bit harder to wrestle as opposed to the ring. So I don't know if that's deliberate on Rizin's part to put this type of guy in a cage match, because it might be harder for him to get Yanbo down. But listen, I've always erred on the side of the guy who finishes a fight, or at least attempts to finish a fight. And also the other thing about Yanbo is that when he doesn't finish, when he loses, he gets finished as well. So he's never seen the judges as well. He's like allergic to judges' decisions.
My kind of fighter. I love
because the complete opposites of Abdul Kalikov. It is funny though that it seems like, I don't know why they're bringing out Abdul Kalikov back, especially because he seems like the antithesis of what a Rizin fighter is. He seems more suited for like Bellator, UFC 1.
So what you're saying is he's boring.
Yes. Yes. I don't know what else. Because listen, I mean, listen. He wins fights, but he hugs and holds the person down. That's all it is. That's not what Rizin is about. Rizin, referee WADA action. That's what Rizin is about. I hope Psycho wins this. I hope he continues his streak of finishing opponents. And also, taking the fight on 2 weeks' notice. Listen, I want to see him get a win in Rizin. And it would be great for him. I think there's a lot more value in a fighter like him than Abdul Kalikov, who, listen, that guy is tailor-made for UFC or Bellator. Saika, he'll do more for Rizin and Pancrase than Abdul Kalikov can do for Rizin, in my personal opinion. And that's my final thoughts on the fight. Next fight, we have a generational fight.
So wait a minute. Are you basically... Yes. So is it just simply unanimous that Yambo's gonna kick Ali's ass?
Well, no, I think JayWolf, you picked Kalikov, right?
Yeah, because he's at a full fight camp, and Sika's coming in there on a short notice. But I love that Drew is saying how either he's a finisher or he gets finished, and I love your point, Drew, about the cage being harder for wrestlers, especially since you guys are pro wrestling fans over here. Gotta say it correctly. Pay homage to pro wrestling. But anyways, I love how Drew was saying how wrestling, the cage, negates it a little bit. It's more difficult to utilize your wrestling in the cage than it is in the ring. So maybe that'll go to Sika's favor. And I really like how you were saying about how either finishes or gets finished. I love those kind of fighters. So and look, to my point that I always love to bring up, the superior rule set is in full effect here. This is actual full contact. So if Ali thinks he's just going to come in there and just hug and wall install, or try to take him down and just lay and pray the whole fight, he could be in for a very rude awakening in the form of up kicks or whatever, and I'm telling you guys, you're about to see exactly. I'm telling you, the superior rule set in the cage. And to Drew's point, like you were saying, it makes it harder for wrestlers. Also, there's no, how in the ring there's like a corner, and it's like you can't swing to either side. It's not like 180.
Well, here's the other thing, JayWolf. We have yet to see, because I thought in the Rabanov Takeda fight we would see that whole Russian Dagestani style negated because of the rules. So far, we haven't seen that happen yet. maybe it'll happen in this fight where that whole style is negated because of the superior rule set.
Yes.
So because I figured that was how Takeda was going to do, but no. But I think he's the one who got kneed in the head. He got kneed in the head by Rock. So because so we'll have to see.
Takeda's a wrestler too. That's why. So
that's true. Yes, that's true. And plus, at least the judges.
We're going to see if Ali shoots, sloppy takedowns or whatever. Choose like a sloppy double leg. He's going to eat knees in the face.
I'll tell you this: the only time I can remember the superior rule set being used effectively against a wrestler or a takedown was, remember Majima versus Saito? Remember he failed the takedown and then just got soccer kicked by like Saito?
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about. But
it was not ironic. It was two Japanese guys. None of this Russian wrestling bear grappling stuff.
Well, what about in one? Siho Ham just did that to Hirata.
That was a knee though. I'm talking like full bloody soccer kick. Okay,
well, grounded knees count as superior rule set, but okay, you want to see them stuff a takedown?
Because here's the thing, I'm gonna forgive a soccer kick. So here's the thing: soccer kicks are basically down the border legal, but you can still knee an opponent in the ribs when they're down. You just can't knee him in the head. So that's why I'm going to kind of give a little pass. But full soccer kicks are like actually banned by unified rules, if I'm correct. And I think also
specified rules. They're not unified.
Of course. But it's actually funny, JayWolf, you bring up pro wrestling because we got somebody who has a connection to pro wrestling, as you would know, Chris Sora Yamamoto, who's he the son of?
He's the son of Kenichi Yamamoto, the legendary competitor for Fighting Network Rings.
Yep. And I think also UWFI.
Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that. I'm an idiot because he didn't just fight for rings. He also fought for Shudo. He was their first light heavyweight champion. And, he was their first lightweight champion and was a decorated professional wrestler for certain other promotions.
But also, he was also a UFC veteran. And I think didn't he win one of their tournaments? Didn't he, when they used to do the tournaments?
I mean, I would have to think so.
And Masanori Kanehara, former UFC fighter as well.
Not only former UFC fighter, but one of the main dudes to have ever defeated the late Norifumi Kid Yamamoto.
And this is a generational fight where one generation of fighter versus a new generation of fighter, old versus new. That's a big theme on this card is kind of old versus new. We'll get to that a little bit later as well.
I mean, let's just face it. Kanehara's old enough to be Yamamoto's dad.
Yeah. Kanehara, though, has been a force at featherweight since going up. And I thought he was going to fail at featherweight. He's been this is in his new lease on life. While Yamamoto is kind of, other than the Nakamura fight, the Daisuke Nakamura fight, which I thought he lost, but he won by split decision. He's been his rising career has been kind of milquetoast. He's not a milquetoast fighter though, but the run has been kind of so. So JayWolf, you've seen both these fighters fight. You've seen what they can do, what they can't do. What do you think? How do you think this fight's gonna go?
Ooh,
how excited are you excited for this fight? Because I think this fight could be the sleeper of the card.
Oh, you already know I'm excited for every single bout on this event. It's all mixed martial arts. There's no kickboxing. That's like the only reason to have a ring one of the only reasons is because you can do the hybrid, the dynamite style with the mixed martial arts and kickboxing, like they do on the numbered events. But in the cage, it's just they're keeping it all superior rule set mixed martial arts. I love it. I remember the previous landmark and some trigger events. They would also have some kickboxing and Muay Thai in there, but this time it's nothing but mixed martial arts, and I love it. And this bout right here, it's tough. I mean, like you're saying, there's young up and coming guy versus a veteran. Oh man, it's tough to pick. I want to go with the younger guy, but again, there's a veteran. Like Jay Krish was saying, he's got he's got a win over Kid Yamamoto, RIP, and just, man, it's tough to pick. But I think I'm going to go with the veteran. You know, that he's got to win over kid, RIP. So that goes a long way. But you never know. I mean, the youth, man, this is a tough one to pick, but it's going to be good. Hey, this says it's third from the top. This says it's right before on Tapology. Excuse me.
Well, they're wrong. They're wrong.
They're wrong. Okay, so this is one of the openers.
Trust us. Trust Jay, Chris, and I. We got the actual poster up. He sent the poster to you as well. So, but actually, here's the other thing I'm going to mention to you, JayWolf. So we got Kanehara, who's on a 2-fight winning streak by ground and pounds, TKOs, while Yamamoto is on a losing streak, 2-fight losing streak. So
now I'm definitely picking Kanehara. You know how I feel about matching up winners versus losers. I think that momentum is very real in this sport, and I just think it's unfair to match up a guy coming off of losses versus a guy coming up off of some wins. So now you told me that, then definitely Kanehara for the win. He's got the momentum, everything.
Before I go on to you, Jay, Chris, the other weird thing that they're having Yamamoto fight. So he's from Hokkaido, and they're doing the Hokkaido show in June. So that tells me that they initially were not planning to have this Hokkaido show, because I figure you'd want to feature a fighter like Yamamoto on that card. But my guess is probably the Hawaii show didn't work out. So that's why they went to Hokkaido show. And that's why Yamamoto's on this card versus that show in Hokkaido. Just my thoughts. Anyway, Jay, Chris, I'm going to pass it off to you now. What do you think about this fight? How do you think this fight's going to go? Will age defeats beauty? I don't know.
What do you mean? Will age defeat youth?
That's it. Youth.
Will age defeat youth? Well, you have to look at it like this. Kanehara, in his Kanehara, ever since he came back to fighting after a couple of year absence, he lost to Victor Henry, and then Victor Henry bolted to the UFC. But then he came back with 2 straight ground and pound finishes, beating up Takahiro Ishida and beating up Kazumasa Maijima when we all picked Maijima to win, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you think about Yamamoto, dude is 4-2 in his last 6 and 3-2 in Rizin. I mean,
one of those wins is questionable. One of those wins is questionable against Nakamura. I apologize for interrupting. Go ahead. I just want to say that.
Yeah, of course. Against the Pure Wrestle and JMMA standout Daisuke Nakamura, one of the old school wrestlers in Japan. But still, though, when you think about this, Yamamoto is a second-generation competitor. His father, Kenichi, obviously, is one of the biggest names in the history of JMMA, or one of the most underappreciated because of his legacy. But still, though, also, you got to mention, Yamamoto's the current Fighting Nexus, I think he's now the former Fighting Nexus champion because he lost to Takeshi Yokoyama. But still, though, point of the matter is, I don't think that age will beat up youth, because youth has too much in the can. Well, actually, youth has too much to, fall back on.
Mm.
So what I'm basically trying to say is Yamamoto's probably going to win this via decision, but it's going to be a really hard-fought decision, especially considering that Kanehara is 40. Kanehara is, a veteran. He's seen just about done it all, including become the Sengoku featherweight champion, and of course, as mentioned, beating Kid Yamamoto and fighting in the UFC 3 times. But still, though, I don't know if Kanehara is world championship material. Whereas I think Yamamoto, with a few more wins, he could be in the same conversation as the other 2 fights that are going to happen in the featherweight division in the co-main and main events. Yutaka Saito versus Ren Hiramoto and Juntaro Ushiku versus Mikuru Asakura. But yeah, I think that Yamamoto is going to win this fight via decision, and he's going to probably make a name for himself in the featherweight division.
Oh man, I could disagree more. I think this is Kanehara's fight to win. I think Kanehara has looked exceptional at 145. He seems to have more a second wins, a second. He doesn't seem to. He's got energy. His grappling is amazing. That's what I wish that's the fight I really want to see. Sometime down the line is him versus Kleber. That would be an amazing grappling match between those two. I don't see what Sora can do to. I don't think he can't certainly out grapple Kanehara. I don't know. The striking might slightly. I don't even know if the striking would even favor him because of how how Kanehara has knocked out, ground and pounded two of his opponents already, back to back. And he's not a guy who's known for TKOing people. I don't know. I feel like Yamamoto. I think I don't know. He can beat the guys. He can beat certain guys at a certain level, and then he loses the guys that are way above that level. So because he also lost to Chihiro Suzuki, who I thought Yamamoto was going to beat him. And then he lost to Vugar, his most recent fight in Rizin. He lost to Vugar. So I just don't see yet. I think this is Kanehara's fight to win. But those
are tough competition, though, Drew. It's not like he's losing chumps there.
Oh, I know, but I think that Kanehara though is a tough fight. That's the thing. I think he can beat the chumps, but I don't think he can beat the people above the chumps. If that makes sense, he'll beat certain fighters at a certain level, but then fighters above that level, he just has no chance to get. He's a hard guy to finish though. He's got durability and he does not give up even when he's losing. And Vugar couldn't even finish him. So neither could Nakamura. And I still think he lost the Nakamura fights. This is Kanehara's fight to win. I think 3-round decision. I think he out-grapples him, he outstrikes him. I think he pushes the pace, and I think Yamamoto's gonna have nothing to answer for. I think age will crush youth. I think in this fight.
I'll tell you what, boys, you're making me more excited for this fight than I already was. I mean, the way Jay Chris was talking about, sort of like, man, if he wins a couple more wins is on his way to a title shot, and then you got the veteran here.
One quick question with this. So I think if Yamamoto wins, you can't give him title shots. I think that's totally unfair, especially because he's lost.
Jay Chris said a couple wins after this. This puts him on a path to a title shot.
But Kanehara has been on a 2-fight winning streak, and he's finished both opponents. So whatever happens, so I don't know. What do you think? So depending on what happens with the main event and the co-main, where would you say that if Kanehara were to win, do you think he should get the winner of Kleber and Suzuki, or do you think the main events, co-main event people are more worthy of that? JayWolf.
I say we see who puts on the best performance and who has the best either finish or fight, and that will decide who gets. If it's Kanehara, then give it to him. If it's the main event, then definitely the main event would get precedence over Kanehara. It's just because they're at the top of the card, they're feature headline bout. So if they put on a stellar performance, then sure, give them the next shot. But Kanehara, he will be right there in the mix with the win for sure.
Mm-hmm. By the way, don't forget as well, he was in that awesome tag team grappling match with Nakamura and Kokoro and some reason.
What's wrong, Jay Chris? You didn't like that?
Nah, it's not that I didn't. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I wasn't able to see it.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, because that was the other Landmark show.
Yeah.
I also think I think JayWolf, were you the one who suggested that winners on Landmark and non-numbered shows, it's almost like you have to work your way up to a number show?
Yes. Remember, that's what Sakaki Barasan was saying.
Yeah.
Like his mission statement was for previously when it was Trigger and when it was Landmark was separate, and now it's just Landmark. Mm-hmm. But that's what, remember, Sakaki Barasan was saying that he wanted a show for vets and up and comers to fight each other, match up, and to work their way up to the big numbered events.
Yeah. Well, speaking of big, we got big.
Yes.
Big.
Here we
got the Kaiju fight behind us. Roque Martinez coming back to Rizin. We talked to him, Jay Chris, a while ago. And we got Sudario continue on his only fighting foreigner road. JayWolf, this fight should not go beyond the first round. Don't you agree? This should be first round, one and done, right?
Yes, I hope so. Because with the big boys throwing the big leather, that one punch could end it. And especially, I'm looking forward to this one because Drew, you put the interview in the chat, in the Rizin Discord chat, but Roque Martinez in his interview, his official interview for the Epic Rizin, he actually he actually said out loud and called it the superior rule set. How awesome is that? That means it's now officially canon. And oh man, and just hearing him talk and him being an American fighter fighting in there, I can't root for him enough. And especially after hearing him call it.
Actually, I want to ask about that. Do we count Guam as American? Is that yes. Technically American?
Yes, technically American. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. So actually, I'm also sorry. I just want to quickly say, continue on. I think this counts as the veteran versus up and comer fight as well. Another one of those fights. But JayWolf, who do you think is going to win this? Who do you think is going to score that punch that's going to send their opponent face down, ass up, as you like to say?
I'm hoping it's Roque Martinez, but at the same time, Sudario, he's on a little streak right now, isn't he? I mean, he's showing good. What?
He lost his last fight against Tafa.
He did. Oh, that's right, against Tafa. My bad. But before that, he was on a streak. Yeah. So this is and Roque Martinez actually, he lost a close decision in the UFC recently, right?
Yeah. He's actually on a losing streak. Well, okay, so I'm not counting the Brawl International fights because that fight was so mismatched. But previous to that, he's on a 3-fight losing streak.
Okay, so he had the streak snapped in Brawl. So and Sudario's coming off a 1 loss. So they're basically both coming off of losses, and going in this fight. Except Martinez is technically not. But like you said, Drew, you don't count that one. So technically he will be. But anyways, that's interesting. It's tough to pick one because they're both good quality heavyweights, and they both got good skills. I just got to go with Roque. I mean, dude, I'm looking. Did you hear his interview? He was excited to be back. He's excited not only to be back in Rizin, be back in Japan, back in the big show in Japan, but he specifically said he's excited to fight on the superior rule set, and he actually called it the superior rule set.
I question the JayWolf. So obviously we know that both these guys can knock out each other, but what about the grounds? Don't forget, Roque Martinez has that infamous win over JLB by scarf hold choke. Do you see this fight? Do you think this fight will go to the ground at all, or no? Other than someone getting knocked out.
I don't know. It's really tough to tell. But if it does go to the ground, like you were saying, Roque Martinez probably has a little bit better skill set on the ground. So if it does go to the ground, I would definitely look for Roque Martinez to but you never know. I mean, Sudario has come a long way in his fights. Heavyweight is so tough to predict because one strike could turn around the whole fight.
And we saw that yesterday, actually, UFC with Pavlovich and Curtis Blades. So
exactly. So it's a heavyweight fight, so anything could happen. But I gotta roll my boy Roque Martinez, American fighter, and just shouting out actually saying out loud the superior rule set on an official Rizin interview. That just he can't get it more over with me. I mean, he is. I'm in the Roque Martinez fan club, and I'm rooting for him big time here.
And speaking of interview, Jay Chris, we talked to him a few weeks ago. The interview will be up by this week, and want to get your thoughts from what he told us. From if you saw the interview, the Rizin interview that he did as well. What do you think?
I did not see the Rizin interview that he done. By the way, just wanted to clarify. But yeah, let's face it here. Let's face it here. Roque Martinez has not been in Rizin competition in any way, shape, or form in the last 38 months coming up onto this upcoming fight. In those last 38 months, Tsuyoshi Sudario, or Takano Fuji Sanzo, has basically managed to build a career beating up guys that basically beating up guys and Manoa Man who basically have I wouldn't say no business being in the ring. Well, except for Manoa Man, obviously. He's a legend. But still, though, with the exception of Manoa Man, Hideki Sakine, and Yano Sukas, his most recent win back in October, he's basically been beating up guys who are just cookie cutter opponents. And yeah, he's 3-1 against foreign competition. But that foreign competition consists of a Dudley Boys reject in Dylan James, a member of the military in Lane Saint Ilme, obviously Yano Sukas, who is from where is he from again? Oh yeah, he's from England by way of Eastern Europe, and Junior Tapa beat him up back on New Year's Eve, and now he's in the UFC. But here's the thing, though. Let's just say this. Rocky Martinez has fought 3 times in the UFC and lost all 3 of his fights. Would a win for Sudario against Martinez, a UFC veteran, finally be that catapult for Sudario to get that call to the octagon?
Oh, sorry. Were you asking hypothetically?
Yeah. Hypothetically.
JayWolf, what do you think? If he gets a win over Rocky, you think that he finally gets a UFC call?
Oh, sure. I mean, you know how the UFC's been poaching the rising stars. They see, especially at heavyweight, they see a guy look at Jared Rosenstruck. He was a rising fighter. One rising fight, boom, sign him straight to the UFC. Gets a rising win, straight to the UFC.
That was during the pandemic when he got signed, I think, if I remember correctly. So you just had there was different elements. But
yeah, you're probably thinking of Yusaku Kinoshita, who got disqualified in his one rising fight. Then boom, straight into the UFC he went.
Oh yeah,
that disqualification was actually in the previous landmark event. Or no, excuse me, that wasn't a when it was Trigger, but still that was in one of their caged events, and that was for the new era. That was the greatest stomp KO of the new era, just because. But
JayWolf, I don't want to get off track. Do you? I mean, so Sudario only wants to fight foreign fighters at this point. And it's clear that, Enson Inoue has made it clear that he wants him to be the first UFC Japanese heavyweight champion at some point. I mean,
let's just be clear. The first Japanese UFC champion since Sakuraba won a tournament back in 1997.
That's right.
Do you think that one win over Rocky Martinez will get him that win? I mean, because it's funny, because Justin Tapa, who he fought, gets the call after he beats him. Do you think that can happen with Sudario?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think it should happen? Okay, that's one question. But do you think it should happen? Do you think Sudario should go? That's a fair question.
Look, the UFC heavyweight division is incredibly weak right now. It's probably the weakest. I don't know if it's the weakest it's ever been, but it's so. I mean, Sudario can make some waves there, and I'm guessing that's why he's fighting in the cage to get him ready for this. So yes, I can absolutely see your scenario happening, Drew, is that if he gets a win over Rock Martinez impressively, that the UFC will be calling, and especially if Enson Inoue is saying that he's pretty much, tailoring him to be a UFC fighter, then I'm sure that's what's going to happen, because as we saw with and I'm sure Sakaki Barasan's not going to sit in his way, because like we've seen before, Sakaki Barasan actually, provides a pathway to get to the UFC, just like he did with, next week at 42 at the numbered event, one of the premier super crossover collaboration super fights with Bellator is Juan Archuleta versus another Inoue, but he's in a contract fight, and it's said that with a win, he's going to go to the UFC. So
but wait a minute. Hold on, Jay. Wait, I want to ask you about that, because so I know you like the cage. I don't like the cage. I think basically, what does it do to you as a fan when you hear that a UFC that a fighter says, "Yeah, after this fight, I hope I get into the UFC," while they're under contract with Rizin, while they're promoting a fight with Rizin, that's their goal. Does that bother you? Is that kind of like shitting? Where what's the term? Like shitting where you eat or whatever?
Yeah. Yes, it does a little bit, but at the same time, I understand because that's the fighters' dreams. That's where the big money is right now. I mean, we have to understand it's not like it was 20 years ago when Pride FC was the biggest promotion going with had big time payouts and stuff. Rizin is getting there. They're getting there. They're getting closer there all the time, and pretty soon they're going to be able to keep these fighters. But right now, as it is right now, the UFC is where the big money's at. It's where all the fighters want to dream to be someday. So no, I don't really have a problem with it. But personally, as a fan, it bums me out because I get upset when I hear them say that because it's like, oh, another great fighter that wants to leave to go to UFC. You know what I mean? But because I want all the great fighters to be in Epic Rizin under the superior rule set. That's what I want to see. But at the same time, right now, we have to understand that's where the sport is right now. The UFC is currently the number one with the biggest purses for the fighters. So that's why they want to go there, get that recognition, get that money. Go ahead.
I think that's incredibly debatable. Biggest purses is debatable.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
For the main event guys, yeah, whatever. But I guess as a foreign fighter, it's a bigger purse than maybe Japan, maybe Thailand, or wherever country you're from. But we, as Americans, we look at those payouts and we're like, that's how much you're getting paid. I mean, at least that's my reaction. I don't know. That's how you react, JayWolf. That's how I react when I see the official, especially when they're in California and they release all the payouts, and it's like, eek. Especially, I know what California charges in taxes, especially.
Yeah, and like you said, it's getting closer. It's getting more leveling off. I mean, where it's getting, dude. It's rising. Remember, there was that tweet by the Bloody Elbow guy, John Nash, who does like the financial stuff. He said that he actually put a public tweet saying that the Epic Rizin, in terms of money and financials and numbers like that the Epic Rizin is the current number 2 promotion behind UFC, which is incredible. So I mean, we're growing every single event. It's getting closer and closer to being to like where there's going to be legit rivals. That's why I keep telling you guys, it's the new golden era right now. Mm-hmm. And this event is going to show you guys.
Well, yeah, Chris, you're about to ask something. What were you going to ask?
I mean, basically, why the hell would Naoki Inoue say that he would want to go to the UFC when he's facing a Bellator fighter in the Rizin ring next weekend? That's what I would want to know, but I would probably wait until next week to hear about it.
I know, yeah, I don't know. It just, it's one of those things where like, oh, I don't know why you would say that publicly. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Even if that's how you feel, keep it to yourself. Because I don't know. If you lose, why would
if you lose, you're gonna be eating a shit ton of humble pie.
Yeah, why would Shingo or Sakakibara I would be like, so you keep on saying you want to go UFC, now you lose, and now you're coming back to us for a fight. It's kind of like a fuck you.
It's going to drop his price. If he loses, it'll drop his price tag, basically.
I want people who want to be here. That's how you have happy workers. You have happy fighters. You have people who want to be here. You have people who get, people like Johnny Case and Spike Carlisle who are so excited to be in Rizin. And right here,
the fight that you're talking about right here, the graphic behind you, Roque Martinez specifically saying how excited he is to be in Epic Rizin, and specifically to how he's excited to be unleashed on the superior rule set. That is a factor that draws the fighters in, that the foreign fighters want to come fight in Japan, not only for the nostalgia and the history, but they want to fight under the superior rule set. They want to test themselves under a tougher rule set.
Anyway, I'm going to quickly give my thoughts on this fight. I think this is Rocky's fight to win. I don't think I don't know what Rocky, Sudario can do to beat Rocky. Rocky's got a chin. He survived Pro Cop until the bullshit cut that should have ended that fight because it was a little teeny ass cut above his eye. But he was getting the better of Pro Cop. He can take a punch. He's better on the ground as far as I know. We haven't really seen Sudario on the ground. He hits. He's got concrete hands. It's possible that yes, Sudario maybe gets a lucky punch in him, but the other thing also, Sudario is like 6'5", 6'4", whatever it is, and Rocky Martinez is short for heavyweight, short and
I think Sudario's 6'3".
Okay, still much taller than Rocky Martinez. He's got the punch down, and when you punch down, it's not as heavy as a punch. Listen, Mark Hunt was always a shorter guy in all of his heavyweight fights and knocked out everybody. Rarely ever got knocked down himself.
Rarely got knocked down by somebody his size. Just ask Melvin Manhoef, who was lighter than him.
So yeah, that's what I think this is Rocky's fight to win. I think he knocks out Sudario in the first round. We'll hopefully get to see more of Rocky. He said he wants to see a heavyweight championship in Rizin. He said that he would love to get that before he retires. So hopefully this is the beginning of something like that. But before we go on to the next fight,
and I mean, come to think of it, before you continue with what you were trying to say they both hold wins over Hideki Shrek Sakine. Both Martinez and Sudario hold knockout wins over Hideki Shrek Sakine. Who do you think, based off of what they did against Sakine, and I'm going to probably pick Rocky Martinez to win as well, but out of what these two fighters did against Sakine in their separate fights, who do you think done more?
Well, from what I remember, Sakine got knocked out pretty quickly by Sudario. Was Rocky in the first round as well?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, Sudario hits hard. He really hits hard, but I don't see. It's not like Rocky has ever not encountered that. He's not going to. I just don't see Sudario's. I don't see how he can knock out Rocky. I just think I think he's got a much better chin than Sudario. I really do. And he doesn't make the mistakes that Sudario makes, like trying to get into a stand-up fight with Tafa, which is what he did when Enson Inoue told him not to. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that, JayWolf? About what Chris is asking?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Drew. I agree with you. It's going to be real interesting, but at the same time, now that we know that Sudario, from talking about Enson Inoue, is saying that he's looking to make the jump to UFC, he's going to want to, put on a good performance so he can make the jump to UFC. So it's going to be interesting to see. It just puts I like it when the fighters do that, because like I was saying, bringing up the Inoue Archuleta fight on 42, it just adds another element to the fight that makes it more exciting for me. So I don't know. I'm rolling with Rock Martinez, but at the same time, Sudario is no joke. He's a big bruising, a sumo crossover heavyweight. So it's gonna be really fun to see how that one goes. So
before we go into the next fight, which I definitely know JayWolf, your Hot West fight, we'll get into that. But we have two questions from our buddy the Falling Star, and I'm gonna ask you, JayWolf. He wants to know: do you feel Rizin will have a U.S. network deal the next 5 years? I feel the next few years will be major years for Rizin history. If I was a betting man, HBO will try Combat Sports again. So what do you think about that?
Oh gosh, I love that. What was the guy's name? Falling Star?
Yep.
Man, I love that comment, Falling Star. I hope it comes true. I would love to see the Epic Rizin on HBO, or then come into like Showtime or be there with Bellator and be on an American promotion again, on an American channel again, but the Fight TV deal that's happened right now, I love it. I love how they're bundling. I love how this landmark event and 42 was bundled. I love how they bundled the last one too. Remember, Landmark 4 was bundled with a numbered event too. I love the Fight TV deals. So, I part of me wants them to stay on Fight TV, but I would absolutely love it if Fallen Stars prediction right there came to fruition, because that would be absolutely amazing to have the Epic Rizin be on HBO or Showtime, whatever. And I think that'd be awesome. Jay Chris, I can see him shaking his head. You don't agree? How come, Jay Chris?
Dude, I'm sorry, but HBO broke that bridge when HBO broke that combat sports bridge when they said boxing wasn't going to return back to their programming lineup in 2018. They are now
that was a mistake.
Yeah, I know that was a mistake. And now David Zasov, that rat bastard, basically is making it even further by changing HBO Max to just Max, meaning that most likely, outside of soccer, we'll probably never see any combat sports coverage on their networks again, with the exception of All Elite Wrestling, obviously. I mean, the last time they tried combat sports was with that damned one championship, and that flopped. But still, though, I do not think that Rizin's going to get a deal with HBO. They would probably have a better deal getting... I mean, they would have a better deal trying to get one with Anthem and Access TV and the Fight Network. The problem is Access TV don't want to do any late night events because they want to devote half their time to paid programming at like 6 a.m. Eastern. But I do think that pretty soon, not pretty soon, but maybe within the next couple of years, maybe the next 3 years, we'll see Rizin get a US TV deal, but it'll probably be either with Access or most likely with one of these networks like Vice or hell, maybe Reels, even though they just got done with their time buy deal with MLW.
Easy answer for me.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel regarding if Rizin will have a network deal, US network deal next 5 years? Answer is no. Absolutely not. HBO will never go back to combat sports. Chris is right about that. They got rid of combat sports and they have not turned back at all. Though if there was any indication, listen, they would have done it. Listen, if HBO would have gotten on something like Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia like years ago, if they knew that they can make money off that. They don't care about sports anymore. It's the same thing at Fuji TV. They don't care. They're the last.
You gotta
great. Listen,
the glass half full. The glass is half full.
Here's the other thing about HBO. Here's the other thing about HBO. They changed their app name from HBO to just Max. That's how embarrassed they are by the HBO moniker. Even though we all call it HBO, it's one of those things that they're a company that doesn't care. About
that. It's not that they don't care, it's that you had so many dedicated people that cared. It's just that the network bosses didn't.
Oh, yeah.
And that could change. That could change in the future. Just like Fuji TV is going to come crawling back to Barga. I publicly said that in the Rizin chat. I believe by the end of this year, Fuji TV will come crawling back and ask Barasan and the Epic Rizin to come back to Fuji TV.
No, not this year. Not this year. Maybe 10 years from now.
The next year. After the match's success, match was a huge success. And the Rizin New Year's Eve collaboration event with Bellator, that was also a huge success. So, I mean, it's just...
The only way that Rizin gets any sort of US TV deal is either on Access, like Chris said, or a low-tier channel that nobody... That's available in like 90 million homes, but only 100,000 people watch, which is to me completely useless.
I want to think of it. Would you basically say it's like Destination America when Impact and Ring of Honor were on there?
Yes. If you are 90 million homes and only 100,000 people watch you, that to me is a failure. That is a failure. Then that nobody watches you. If there was a thing like the Fight Network now. Absolutely. I'd be even questioning like why isn't Rizin on the fight network or something like that.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. The Fight Network, for the most part, is only available in Canada.
Well, that's they should make it available here in the United States. I don't know why, but or just North America in general, but for some reason it's not.
I think the only reason why that won't happen is because of rights restrictions, dude.
No, rights restrictions. I hate that. I hate that so much.
Chris I think he's onto something with the Access TV because right now that's the home for Invicta. Invicta fights the all women promotion.
I could see that. But here's the thing, though.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. Access TV used to have a whole ton of fight leagues join them, like Combat Chico about.
Dream, Glory, they had all kinds of.
The other thing about these small TV networks that you bring up, like Access, Reels, Dexter. So here's the thing: these networks are so small. A lot of them pay very little, or you pay to get on those things because you want the exposure. This is not like CBS. If CBS says, "Hey, we want you on our network," like for Bellator or Paramount, whatever, is going to get the money from CBS or whatever to air there. UFC, ABC with UFC, same thing. This is not Destination America either, or Reels or Access is paying minimum very little, zero, or the company or whatever that's airing on there pays them. I'm pretty sure. Well, Invicta is owned by Access, I believe, right?
Mm-hmm. So Invicta is owned by the parent company of Access TV, which is Anthem Sports and Entertainment.
So there's nothing changing there. I don't think it's Rizin's best interest to at all pay to be on any sort of low tier network at all. Then there's also rumors that perhaps one was maybe paying TNT as well. I don't know about
most definitely ONE FC was paying what was then, I think. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about how the Amazon thing works. That was it. If Rizin was on Amazon Prime, Amazon Prime Japan apparently is actually a thing. Listen, I think that would be a great venue for them.
Yeah, it would be a great venue for them, but where would they air here?
Yeah,
where would they air internationally?
On the TV channel.
I mean, as Amazon Prime would be better.
Well, what's the difference between that and Fight TV? Because they're both apps. What the question was about a terrestrial broadcast channel.
Well, I don't think they should be thinking about terrestrial broadcast. They're not on any sort. No channel producer people are thinking about Rise at this point or even aware. So that's not even. It shouldn't be any concern.
That's what your answer is. Jay Chris says it's not going to happen at all, but had the great idea about Access TV. Because they have Invicta, they have a history with Dream and Glory back in the day, and so that
they have a history with all
they're so small. They're so small. They're so small. You get very little. You will get very little, and Rizin is above. In my personal opinion, Rizin is above Access.
They are, but at the same time, to break into the TV market, I think that'd be a good. Because they would fit with Invicta, because Invicta also has sent over fighters before. Just in this fight we're about to talk about with the striker queen Reina, she's fighting a Combate Global woman who's being sent to Combate Global.
Thank you actually for bringing that up, Joe. But quickly, Falling Stars, one more quick question. Do you want to Rizin and Bellator year-round Grand Prix? I feel it is better. It is better than a once-a-year thing. So more than once a year, a Rizin Bellator thing.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You already know how I feel about Grand Prix.
Jay Chris?
Hey, I wouldn't mind seeing it as long as it can keep some of these fighters busy.
Simple answer for me, no. I'd rather it be a year-end thing. I want it to be a year-end thing. It gives something to look forward to, and it's something to build up to.
You're killing me, Drew.
It's something to build up. It's something to build up to. Now, hold on. If you wanted to have a Bellator and maybe a Bellator, so like a Bellator versus Rizin thing, one in Bellator and then one in Rizin. I think that's a little bit different. I think that would be a little bit cool. Or
no, I think Fallen Stars talking about the event in Epic Rizin, having the Bellator fighters compete in Epic Rizin in an Epic Rizin Grand Prix. That's what I'm guessing.
Oh, sure. Why not bring them over? In terms of like, okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, bring. I believe. Yeah, put the Bellator fighters in Rizin's Grand Prix. Put the Rizin fighters in Bellator's Grand Prix. I think I'm surprised that the bantamweight one did not have more Rizin fighters other than Horiguchi. If you even can't consider Horiguchi a Rizin fighter, I think we've had more Bellator fighters in the Rizin ones than the Bellator ones have. Yeah, we were supposed to get Gustavo. I mean, not Gustavo. Excuse me, Satoshi in the lightweight Grand Prix, and that never happened.
Yeah,
so,
and we've had Bellator guys participate in the Epic Rizin Grand Prix. Remember?
Yeah.
That was one of the best things about the lightweight Grand Prix. It had Patricky Pitbull, the lightweight 155-pound Pitbull in it. That made it so much cooler. So absolutely, the Fallen Stars question, absolutely 100%. Have as many as possible. And you know what, Drew, to compromise with you, have them yearly and have them culminate to the final show being around the New Year's Eve time. So that will be one of the finals, or have it be like a big old 16-man or a 32-man yearly Grand Prix culminating with the final.
I don't think I'll go that far. But speaking of Invicta, we got the first hot girl fight, as I like to call it, JayWolf. Reina making her return, taking on Kabaddi Global's Claire Lopez.
Yes.
What do you think, JayWolf? Your thoughts on this? We got Claire Lopez from France training in England. You're familiar with Reina. I don't know if you got to see Lopez fight at all. She actually fought in Bellator. I don't know if you know this. She fought in Bellator a few years ago.
Oh, did she? I remember her fight in Kabaddi Global. So that's interesting that also she's a Bellator veteran as well. But you know who I'm all about on this, and I'm all about the striker queen Reina. This is one of the ones I've been looking forward to the most. And yes, Drew, you're absolutely correct. This is the epitome of a hot girl fight. I mean, the striker queen Reina, she is the epitome of a hot girl fighter. Just a beautiful woman with the looks. She has the hot girl looks, beautiful one, and her style, her fighting style is just incredible. She has some of the nicest flying stomp technique you will ever see. I mean, she throws the most beautiful stomps of anybody. She should be going around Japan teaching seminars to the Epic Rizin fighters on how to throw flying stomps. That's how good her technique is. And just, I mean, that's part of the reason why I would call her striker queen. Everything. She's just the epitome of a hot girl fighter. And I don't know if you've been paying attention to her interviews and stuff. She is specifically saying that she wanted on this card with experience in the cage because she is planning on using that to go fight overseas again and challenge in Bellator again. And so she wants the cage experience, which is another positive.
But the thing is, though, that okay, so this is at Reina weight, as we like to call it, because it's not atom weight, but it's not straw weight. It's like a weird in between. There's no atom weight division in Bellator, obviously. There's none in UFC. There's no, other than Invicta. Is there straw weight? I don't think there's straw weight in Bellator.
No,
right?
But they have had strawweight fights before, yes. I believe, I'm not mistaken. So possibly just like with flyweight, I thought that this weekend they were going to try to open a flyweight division and have it be a cross organization.
Speaking of failures.
Yeah, and Ray Borg just failed and screwed up those plans. And Ray Borg failed so bad that he got cut. And not even that, he got cut and retired in the same freaking. That's how bad of a weight miss it was this time. But I think their plans were. I'm guessing and hoping that their plans were to start. That was going to be their catalyst to start a flyweight division, 125-pound division for Kyoji Horiguchi. And I am hoping that they will be doing the same thing with striker queen Reina and the 115-pound division.
Well, here's the thing. Sorry, JayWolf. I just wanted to also ask as well. Reina has looked okay recently. She doesn't seem like the same fighter that she was before, where she was just this finishing queen who'd body shot or liver shot, and the person goes down. Her style, she's changed up her style quite a lot. Not less striking, but more than just striking, I'll say. Do you think that this is enough to beat Claire Lopez? Do you think that because Claire Lopez also, here's the thing, she's a finisher. She's all but one of her wins is a finish. Do you think that Claire Lopez is not going to make the striking fight? She's like, okay, I'm taking on someone who's a striker. I'm going to grapple this person.
Yes, and I think Reina's going to have to show that her growth as a fighter and show that she has shored up her grappling skills and shored them up inside of a cage. And you know, I hope that she goes in there and tries to grapple with Reina, because I want to see Reina's improvements. And because like I was saying, I'm so excited about her interview was saying about how she wants to, after this fight, she wants to challenge for the Bellator fighters. She wants to do collaboration super fights in Bellator. And I'm guessing that this will be a catalyst bout. I'm guessing a lot of these fighters on Landmark 5 we're going to see in the Bellator cage in the future. That's just my guess. And I bet you anything that's going to happen. And for sure,
pick. Official pick. I kind of know who you're going to pick, but how do you think Reina wins?
Oh, by flying stomp. The great, and cements herself as one of the greatest female fighters of all time, the greatest hot girl fighter of all time, with the flying stomp KO, the best of the new era, supersedes Kinoshita's stomp KO and becomes the best stomp KO of the new era. Puts herself up there in the Wanderlei Silva and Shogun Hua categories of all-time great fighters with stomp.
Camera KO. Reported ahead.
Jay Chris.
Was that Siri?
Yeah, no, that was my Siri app that's going crazy right now, which is why I'm like looking down trying to control this thing. Jay Chris, how do you think this fight's gonna go? I know obviously you're familiar with Reina. Have you seen Claire Lopez fight in Combate at all or in Bellator?
Well, here's the thing, Andrew. We both talked to Claire Lopez separately, and she said to me,
yes.
Mm-hmm. Even though my interview with her probably won't be up. Well, let me just go ahead and announce this now. I will upload this interview that I had with Claire Lopez, not only on the Focus Fights YouTube channel, but on the Focus Fights audio podcast as well. I'm basically cranking out a last minute episode on y'all, so be sure to, check it out. But still though, Claire Lopez and Reina Kubota have fought two previously similar opponents in Alexandra Alvarez and Hannah Guijuan. Alvarez fought, when Alvarez, damn it, what am I trying to say? Let me go ahead and just see. I'm having a damn brain fart. I'm an idiot for this. I'm sorry, y'all. I am basically fucking up. But still, though, point of the matter is, Alvarez and Reina, see, I'm having a nervous.
We're trying to say,
okay, so I know what you're trying to say, Chris. I think.
Let me go ahead and figure this out real quick. Kubota fought Hannah Guijuan New Year's Eve 2016 TKO body kick third round. Then she fought Alexandra Alvarez 20 seconds, Rizin 19 back in October 2019. Claire Lopez fought Alvarez back in April 2018, first round knockout. Then choked out Hannah Guijuan via first round rear naked choke in the very next fight that she had. But considering the fact that Claire Lopez, went through a one-night tournament with Combate Global in that TV studio in Miami, the Univision Studios, by the way. I mean, this is going to be her first fight in front of a crowd in a little under 4 years. So for Claire Lopez, this is going to be something that she hasn't been used to since the summer of 2019. Meanwhile, Reina Kubota, who is currently coming into this fight off the back of 5 wins in her last 6 fights, especially beating Anastasia Spetskiba back in June of 2020, back in July of 2022, did not make the Rizin Women's Super Bantamweight Grand Prix final because she was previously injured. I mean, you have to think, if Reina wins this fight, you have to think, if Claire Lopez wins this fight and she's 3-1 in her last 4, if Claire wins this fight against Reina, would it be considered an upset or would the better fighter have truly won because Claire Lopez, is coming in with less experience, but a hell of a lot more to gain?
Thoughts, JayWolf?
Oh, I mean, look, I love the fact that Claire Lopez is coming in from the, quote unquote, some big stages, Bellator and Combate Global especially, because Combate Global is
not
on
really
Univision.
big stages, dude. It's not really big stages considering the fact.
Because you're talking about there's no audience for the Combate Globals right now, which is true, which is something they need to fix. They need to start running crowd shows
But
again.
let me go ahead and finish this. Claire Lopez has not fought in front of a crowd since July 13th, 2019.
Yeah, but at least she has fought in front of a crowd, so it's not going to be her first time in front of a crowd. Probably going to be his first time in front of the crowd this big. I'll bet you that much. But at the same time, no. I just love it. I love that Combate Global is having her come over here to fight one of Rizin's stars. I mean, it just, because Reina is a bona fide star. Even though she has some losses. So I love it. But to Jay Chris's point, yeah, it's gonna be a factor that she's fighting in a crowd again. She's gonna be, fight after years of not fighting in front of a crowd. So that's gonna be definitely a factor, and gonna give her some jitters, big stage jitters. But at the same time, she's been on cards where there, was big stage for television audiences, like with Bellator and especially Combate Global, because they have a pretty good reach, especially in the Hispanic for the
Hispanic television market, especially in the Mexican American areas.
Yes. So I mean, look, it's not like she's gonna be. What you're asking, Jake, I think asking is there going to be Rizin jitters? You know how they always say that about the UFC jitters. So you think Lopez is going to have Rizin jitters? Yes, she will, because it's going to be a huge stage. It's going to be across the world, so she might have some Rizin jitters. Yes, but at the same time, she's even though she doesn't have that many fights, she's experienced. Being the Combate, like you were saying, she was part of that Combate Global one night tournament where they. Unfortunately, they had to abide by the pussified unified rules over here, where they're only allowed to fight 25 minutes total. So they had to break up that fight structure as 1 5-minute round fights. But anyways, it was great experience for her, and she does have some great victories in Combate Global as well, finishes and stuff. So I'm really excited about this bout. I can't wait to. This is like I said, Reina. She specifically said this is like, this is for her test to see if she's ready to go back overseas and fight in Bellator again. I mean, and she's specifically saying about how she wants to utilize the cage and get the cage experience here. I just think this is it just puts another element, just like those fights that we're talking about, Sudario and Inoue, about having the extra caveat about if they win, they're going to the UFC. For me, this fight right here, with Reina, the extra caveat of having a Combate Global opponent and being in the cage with the caveat, if she wins, she goes back to Bellator. It just takes to even another level of excitement for me. I mean, you already know how much I love Reina, Drew, and Jay Chris. So this makes even that much more better. I can't wait. This is definitely one of the feature bouts for me right here. I just love it.
So Chris,
here's the thing, though. I think that if Reina wins this fight, and I do think that Reina wins this fight, she might go back to Bellator. But will the Bellator fans even treat her with respect, though?
You darn right.
You saw how she was at Bellator 222 when she lost to Lindsey Van Zandt the first time. She basically felt confused, did her usual rising stick, but they sped her entrance music up just so that she can get her just so that they can get her in the cage. And then she kind of felt the jitters, especially fighting in the garden, so to speak. So basically, she felt like she was an alien on a lost planet. But still, though, when it comes down to Reina, and I do think that she's going to win this fight, I think that she's going to probably need to not underestimate Claire Lopez, because while Claire is a mom too, does move back and forth between London, England, and Nice, France, she does have a lot to gain. No, not a lot to lose, but a lot to gain. And I think that, yeah, Reina will win, most likely via first or second round submission. But let's just say, if Claire Lopez ends up acting like Andy Nguyen did that one time, you know, we might end up seeing a more mature woman become a breakout star, so to speak, in the fight world.
Nice. Let's hope that happens. I hope it's by superior rule set soccer kick or grounded knee finish too.
I do think I think we all agree that Reina is going to win. But I don't think can she finish Claire Lopez? I don't know. That's easier said than done. Claire Lopez is hard to finish. I also think Reina has not looked.
Well, she's not that hard to finish. I mean, Yasmin Howard-Gui did beat her via TKO.
But I don't know. Reina's just not. There's something different about her. She's definitely. It's not the same very violent, very aggressive style that she used to have. I don't know if if that's a conscious or injuries or so whatever, but she's still a world beater, but she's not the dangerous world beater that she used to be, at least from her last few fights. I do think Reina will win. I think this can potentially go all 3 rounds, but here's the thing. I think Clara Lopez will be obviously the better of the two on the ground. That's the one way that Clara Lopez I see wins, is that if she just makes this a ground grappling fight. If she can. Listen, Reina, other than Kana was the only one who really used the grappling. But I don't even know that I don't know if Clara Lopez's grappling is up to Reina's Kana's level. And actually, before we go on to the next fight, we do have another question from our buddy, the Falling Star, and they want to know, what are your feelings on Nate Diaz and Jake Paul? Theories why Rizin couldn't get the deal over with Nate. JayWolf, that you care about that, so I'll motion over to you.
Oh yeah, Falling Star. I was so butthurt. I wanted Nate Diaz to be in Epic Rizin more than any. Remember, I don't know if you're in the Rizin Discord chat. But man, I was calling for that ever since. I mean, it was like an extra Christmas present on New Year's Eve when Jake Paul initially was like, trying to talk smack to Nate Diaz and asking where he's at, and then Nate Diaz just tweets a picture out of the Epic Rizin logo on New Year's Eve. That was like a Santa's like a stocking like Christmas present. Like Santa left it for me under the tree after Christmas. It was so great to see, because I thought Nate Diaz was coming to the Epic Rizin, and we were fantasy matchmaking, saying, since he wants to box, put him in there against Manny Pacquiao or something, and then have him fight mixed martial arts like his brother did in Pride, and have him follow in the footsteps of his brother, and just, man, it was just so much fun, even fantasy bookmaking for that. But that's, I guess he was asking for too much money or whatever, and now
maybe they just never asked him. Is that at all possible? I think that's entirely possible. They just never asked him. Where would the plans for Rizin and Diaz be anyway?
Just like what I was saying, exhibition boxing match, and then some mixed martial arts bouts.
Okay, well, my feelings on exhibition boxing matches are already well known, so I'm happy that didn't happen. MMA matches, whatever. Maybe not. I just don't see how he would have finished the plans of Rizin and stuff. Now, if Rizin was going to have a Hawaii show or a USA show, I get it. I totally get that, to put Nate Diaz on. But since the Hawaii show didn't pan out, I just don't see what he can bring at this point till now. It's the same thing for Ngannou. I think the fact that Ngannou has not signed anybody, I think, is dumb. He should have signed at least a month or two after he left UFC. Now it's like, he's just yesterday's news.
Actually, yeah. I wouldn't say that Ngannou's yesterday's news. The dude can still generate some type of buzz if and when he decides to sign somewhere, be it in boxing, MMA, or kickboxing.
If that's the question, if
he's going to do boxing and then mixed martial arts. So But who knows if he even comes back to mixed martial arts after boxing? He might make so much money in boxing, he just goes, you know what? Forget this. The people they don't treat me right, and the fans they're talking all that crap. So I'll just take the boxing money and go right off in the sunset.
Nah, I think he gonna probably end up being the Fight World's version of a bounty hunter. He gonna probably fight in the PF. No, he gonna probably fight in boxing first, then go to the PFL, get that million over there, and probably maintain his riches, so to speak.
Anyway, he'll take less money for the Puss FL. I don't think he wants to go to the PFL. Man.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. $1 million, yes.
As far as my thoughts on Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz goes, yeah, I'm kind of a little startled that Nate Diaz didn't immediately do anything with Rizin, but that would have probably messed up his, personal aspirations of his own fight promotion, Real Fight Incorporated, doing anything else. Now,
I forgot he had that promotion. Anyway, sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Now, as far as Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul is concerned, I will probably be the main one watching that because it's going to take place in that cesspool known as Dallas, Texas. But unfortunately, as y'all know, that fight is going to be a real legitimate fight. It's going to take place under the auspices of the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation in August of this year. And yeah, while it may be, a legit fight, it's going to have a legit undercard with some big time names on that card, possibly. Who knows? TBA. We'll see it. No, TBA to be announced at a later date. I can only hope that if the opportunity does present itself, there's one match I would probably not mind seeing on that card, and I wouldn't mind seeing Mike the Troop Jackson. In that case, I would not mind seeing Mike the Troop Jackson beat the holy high hell out of Jake Shields on that card if it comes to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think that it'd be for boxing, or would it be for?
It would be boxing straight up, because at least Mike the Troop Jackson actually has experience in boxing, whereas Jake Shields, the most boring fighter in the history of fight sports, all he knows how to do nowadays is run his mouth.
We're running out of time, so I'm sorry.
Okay.
We got time limit.
Yes.
No time limit.
Speaking of JayWolf, speaking of comment,
3 more hours.
You know what?
Not 3 more hours.
You know what? We'll talk afterwards. We'll talk after this whole thing is over. Let's get to the V Hajime. No, let's get to the V Hajime versus Kana Asakura fight.
Yes.
May Yamaguchi is coming in off of 6 years of being in purgatory, and Asakura is basically
she was in parts unknown.
Asakura is still making her name. I think that in the case of this fight, that Asakura is going to probably come in, but she's going to disappoint us all because Mai Yamaguchi is the armbar queen for a reason. Yeah, she may have fought 12 times in ONE FC, but she still knows how to maintain herself as a top caliber fighter. Hell, she took Angela Lee to the distance and damn near won.
So this is one of the last fight. That's that whole old school versus new school. Very similar, these two, other than age, obviously. But both grapplers, both were on a losing streak. Mays, I think, is 4-3 at this point in fights that are in parts unknown. And then obviously Kana. So JayWolf. So as somebody who's been watching Rise since the beginning, Kana had this slow trajectory upwards and seemed to be one of the main gals of the promotion, and now seemingly is having a downward spiral where she's losing against people like Siwoo Park and is not looking overall good. What do you think this fight? Will this fight tell us whether Kana is still a top fighter?
Yes.
For Rizin?
Yes, absolutely. Just because she's on a little skid right now, don't mean that she's washed up or whatever. This was absolutely a win right here against a ONE FC vet is definitely will reestablish herself as in the division. This is just because she, the people that she lost to, like you said, Siwoo Park, that was a finalist and that arguably beat a Starflower, Siki Izawa. So, I mean, just because I'm not gonna. You can't write off Kana Asakura just because she has some losses on a little skid right now. She's still young, so I mean, there's plenty of time. Even if she don't beat Mei Yamauchi, she still has time to make a comeback. So it's not like I don't like writing people off just because they lost a fight or two. So this is definitely. But to answer your question, Drew, yes, if she wins this fight, she's definitely reestablished herself in the division. Absolutely.
But what about
but here's the thing, though. Do you basically give Mei Yamaguchi a chance to, improve on what she's been missing out on the last 7 years because of the fact that she's an outsider coming in?
Well, sure. Look, whoever wins is going to be, get themselves some higher profile fights. But whoever loses, I don't see there's any reason to cut or not ever have them fight again, unless they're just so, put on just a totally lackluster fight, which I don't see happening. So to answer your question, no, yes, I believe no matter what happens, win or lose, definitely bring them back and see what they can do in this. And Mei Yamauchi is going to find out that, being in one championship was sidelined her for a lot of the career because they hardly ever have their fighters fight over there. In Epic Rizin, they're fighting 3-4 times a year sometimes. And if they get them in a Grand Prix, that can even be bumped up to 5 times with the one night Grand Prix final where there's multiple fights in a night to win the belt. So, I mean, to answer your question, Jay Chris, yes, Mei is gonna like it a lot better back here in Epic Rizin, where all the Japanese and Asian fighters belong, because she's going to be able to fight way more often than instead of being kept on the shelf like they usually do to fighters over in one championship. So, but she's got a tough. I mean, Kana Asakura, remember, she's the one that spoiled Reina winning the Grand Prix. So Kana Asakura won the Grand Prix as well. So she's not, just because she's on a little skid right now doesn't mean that she doesn't know how to fight. Okay, so it's just because they're on a skid does not mean that they forget how to fight. So this is another one to pay attention to. And again, just to answer your questions, yes, bring back the loser again, give another chance, if this is Mei and Asakura, but the winner is going to reestablish herself in the division and have a bunch of future fights for them. Yes. So,
but JayWolf, here's the thing about Kana is that she's lost to also people who are better grapplers than her, who have like Miyu and Alyssa Garcia, actually Kana's first fight, actually. Mei Yamaguchi is one of the best on the ground and one of the best grapplers in atom weight. And I don't know, this is not going to be a striking match. I can't see this being at all decided by the striking. I think this is going to be decided by the grappling. Do you think that Mei Yamaguchi, with that years of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience, will be the better grappler in this fight?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. That's why they matched them up against each other. Like you were saying, Kana Asakura has some grappling as well. And so it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. And if, to Drew's point, if he's correct, if it's going to be a grappling match, if it's going to be a grappler's delight, or is it going to be, you're going to have some striking in there?
I don't think this will be grappler's delight level, but I think it'll definitely be grappler level.
Okay.
Or grapple less.
Yes, there you go. Put the female thing on the grappling.
So just simply, who do you think is going to win? How do you think Yamaguchi is gonna? Whose losing streak will be now winning? Will now have a win in it.
Man, this is a tough one to predict because, like you were saying, Mei's got that experience, excellent grappler as well. So Asakura is going to have to really show something to beat her and get her out of there. But Asakura's got the youth on her side. So it just depends on how well she's trained for this bout and how much left in the Mei has left in the tank. So I think it's going to be a fantastic bout, and I'm hoping for some fantastic grappling exchanges as well as you know what I like to see in Epic Rizin fight. I like to see the superior rule set in action, and maybe if Mei tries to get her in like an armbar or something, and then we see Kana use the greatest armbar defense ever, a stomp to the face to get out of the armbar, or soccer kick to the head to get out of the armbar, the greatest armbar defense there is. So that's the kind of thing I'm hoping that we see happen. And, Rizin historically has had their female bouts showcase some excellent superior rule set action. That's how Sika Izawa beat Hamasaki. Sika Izawa got her with the grounded up kick. Remember? Rocked Hamasaki, and then Sika Izawa was able to get up and then, get Hamasaki down and finish her off after rocking her with that grounded up kick. So, women's mixed martial arts bouts in Epic Rizin have a history of showing us some superior rule set action, even in a quote unquote grapplers fight. So that's what I'm hoping for in this one.
Easy answer for me. I think Mei Yamaguchi wins this. Very easy. Mei Yamaguchi's also never been finished in her 100 fights or whatever that she's had. Kana's just not looked good recently in her fights. I don't know what's going on with her training or lack of training, maybe. I think that Mei Yamaguchi is easily the superior grappler, and those are the people that have beaten Kana. Usually, like Ayaka Mizaki twice beat Kana. Like I said, Alyssa Garcia, Miyu Yamamoto. I don't know striking wise that that'll even be a factor. I don't think it will be, but I think Mei Yamaguchi is going to out grapple Kana for the rounds. Unless Kana has been doing something differently in her training camp than usual, I just don't. Yeah, I think we're seeing the downturn Kana. I really do, which is unfortunate because I like her. I think she's an interesting fighter. And I've been a fan of her.
How old is she? Is she still in her 20s?
25.
Oh, Drew, come on. Doesn't even matter if she goes on another 4 fight skid. There's still plenty of, she's not even 25 yet. There is still plenty of time for her to make a comeback and a turnaround in her career here.
It's possible, but I'm not seeing that. She's not. It's just she's not showing it. We're not.
We're about to see in this fight right here. This could be her bounce back fight right here. So
it could be. I don't think it's unfortunately going to be her bounce back fight. Now I think this is officially the people's main event. I know you got to use that term, JayWolf, so I'm going to steal it.
I love it.
Koji Takeda, Luis Gustavo. JayWolf. Well, who's going to set off fireworks in this fight?
Let me tell you, brother, I love this bout. You know that I love Koji Takeda, and the performance he put. I thought he won at the New Year's Eve collaboration mega event with Bellator. Well, I thought that he got robbed that decision. But at the same time, you leave up to the judges, you never know. So that's why you got to finish. But anyways, he showed at that New Year's Eve collaboration mega event that he is an all action fighter and brings the action and can handle it on the big stage. And I cannot wait to see him unleash in the cage, in the Epic Rizin cage on a superior rule set to see what he can do. Because remember, he had a fight of the year candidate a couple years ago where it was in the ring, but at the same time, the combination that he landed was listen to this combo. He did a suplex to a stomp to a grounded knee, and that was one of the best combos I've ever seen. So I'm really excited to see him unleash on a superior rule set again, but this time in the cage to see what he can do. And we already know Luis Gustavo is a killer as well. This has some excellent performances in
that is his nickname. That is his nickname, Killer.
That's right. And now he's getting unleashed in the cage, where when the superior rule set is allowed in the cage, just the violence, just something about it.
But so here's the thing: Gustavo obviously the fights he's lost. He lost to Mikuru because Mikuru out grappled him. But I don't see Takeda outstriking him. But Takeda is very durable. Do you think Gustavo can knock out Takeda?
Absolutely. Yes, he can knock him out, especially if he utilizes a superior rule set with ground and knee, soccer kicks, stomps. Who knows what we could see? I'm really excited for this one. Like you said, Drew, this is the people's main event for sure. But Takeda is going to try to grapple for sure. Because that is one of his strengths. He's making a name for it, trying to become the next suplex king, basically. He's had a
sorry, JayWolf, I gotta ask, who do you think's gonna win? That's the big question. Who do you think's gonna win?
You know what?
I know it's a tough one. It's a tough one.
I don't want to pick a winner in this one because this is one I care about. I like both the fighters. So you know how I feel about jinxing it and picking a win. So I really would like to not pick a winner in this one, but I think it's going to be an absolute banger. And I agree with you 100%. It's going to be a people's main event. So,
and Jay Chris, how do you think this fight's going to go? We're going to see the unadulterated violence that Ruiz Gustavo always brings.
We're gonna see unadulterated violence from both of these competitors because these two are acting like pure world beaters right now. Especially Takeda with his suplexes and Gustavo with his fast fury. Well, with his furious finishes. I think this fight's gonna probably be one of the fights of the night, which is why I'm not picking any winner either. But I think that this fight is going to be so exciting, so outrageous, so crazy that we ain't gonna see no judge's decision.
I love it, Jay Chris.
Is this a tough one? Because Takeda's gonna grapple, but I think Takeda will also strike. He's not afraid to strike as well. He's not afraid to do things that may not be in his favor for a fight. But Gustavo is obviously not gonna grapple, I assume. Okay, he's gonna, as soon as that bell rings, he's gonna start throwing. He's gonna start throwing those furious fists. I thought you were gonna say furious fists, Jay Chris.
Yeah, God,
whether he can knock out Takeda, I think is entirely that's the big question. Because Takeda's, other than the Rabanov fights where he got almost knocked out, that's the thing. If he gets knocked down, he can recover like he did in that match. But man, Gustavo is such a. You gotta go big. You gotta go bold. I think Gustavo is gonna be the first person to KO Takeda by round 2. I don't think that Takeda's durability is going to be able to withstand all the strikes that Gustavo is gonna throw. And it won't be pretty strikes. I think it's not pretty what Gustavo throws, but what he throws is just, I guess you could call it, it's kind of like fuck you power. Is that the term? Is that what it's called? Fuck you power?
Yes, we'll call it that for this show for sure.
So yeah, I really do think that this is Gustavo's fight to win. Depending on whoever wins this, though, I think you can make an argument that they could be next in line. Who's the wait? Is there even a Rizin lightweight champion? Or am I?
Satoshi.
Yes, there is.
Satoshi
de Sousa.
Yeah, I think could definitely be next in line, unless Spike Carlisle beats Satoshi. Let's hope that let's hope that doesn't happen though. But this is definitely the people's main event. The worst thing that could happen though, these two clash heads and the first 10 seconds and fight is ruined. And then we all cry.
Why you gotta say shit like that, man? Don't even freaking put that out in the universe, bro.
It'd be funny. It would be funny though. I like chaos.
That'd be terrible. What are you talking about?
I know,
bro?
but it's funny. It's funny.
Let's go ahead and talk about the tri-main event. Kazuma Kurumoto versus Shinobu Ota, the former Olympic silver medalist.
So grapplers like JayWolf, I think,
yes,
can be absolutely prior to this. These two met in the finals of the All Japan Emperor's Cup finals with Kurumoto winning. You can find it on YouTube. I posted on Twitter. The ending's weird. It seems like they both were tied, and then it looked, I don't know how to describe it. Like, it looked like Ota had taken down Kurumoto, but then I guess Kurumoto somehow reversed it. And so there was deliberation over who took down who. And then it decided, Ota did it. Kurumoto. Kurumoto was clearly not happy. If you watch that video, he was not happy that they ruled against him. But yeah, Ota's Olympic level, Kurumoto's Olympic level. These guys, Kurumoto, also a suplex guy. Ota's Rizin streak is questionable, in my opinion. But JayWolf, what do you think of this fight? And who do you think? Do you have a winner? I'll ask.
Yes, I love this fight. Like you're saying, it's a grappler's delight for sure. Olympic level grappler's delight. I mean, This is and this against proven Kuramoto is a proven exciting fighter. Okay, and Ota is the Olympic medalist. Is he a silver medal or a bronze medal?
I think it was silver.
Silver medal. Okay, so he's Olympic silver medalist. So this is just, this has got fireworks written all over it, and Kuramoto has actually shown that he is, knows how to utilize a superior rule set. I think he has a badass grounded knee knockout that's on the superior rule set highlight reels. So, I'm really looking forward to this one. To pick a winner, gosh, that's so tough. I like both these guys. Ota is Olympic medalist. And like I said, Kuramoto is an exciting fighter. So I'm going to have to go with Kuramoto because, like I said, he does have that superior rule set finish, grounded knees, badass grounded knee finish. Everybody go look that one up. And so I'm looking for him to build on that and keep, he's already has built on it, but he's going to keep the momentum going and keep, and Ota's going to be in for a rough night. This might be a little bit too much too soon for Ota because
that's been his entire rising career. It's too much too soon, really, if you really think about it.
Well, I know that's how the Japanese like to do. They like to throw their new prospects right into the fire right away to see it sink or swim, but at the same time, this just might, Ota is still, he's still getting acclimated to the mixed martial arts, and Kuramoto is just, we know, he's already an established, proven, exciting fighter. So I guess I'm going to go with Kuramoto, even though Ota is he's shown excellent promise.
And by the way, also just quickly as well, you should be happy, Joe. This is a crossover rivalry. You should I know you like crossovers. This is a crossover rivalry, like Alex Bahia and Izzy. And,
crossover I'm talking about is when the Bellator elite fighters.
I know, but you should like this that these two have history. And that's always good. That always makes it an more interesting fight, in my personal opinion.
I love it, Drew. That adds an extra caveat to the fight. Yeah, I love it when that happens in the fights. This whole card has a bunch of those sometimes. So it's like,
well, let me just ask. Sorry, JayWolf, I don't mean to, but we want to ask. So, what can Ota do to win, if anything? Because I think we could both agree that maybe Kuramoto is a better wrestler.
Oh, we'll have to find out because Ota is a silver medalist. So he's going to want to prove it. He's a better wrestler.
Well, that's the other question. Do you think, will this be a case of, we're an MMA fight, we're not going to actually wrestle each other at all? Because listen, that can happen. That happens, when two guys are so good at their respective things, and you think these two guys are in a strike, and then Paul Daly and MVP wind up grappling. It can happen.
It absolutely could happen. If that happens, I think Kuramoto has the edge on striking because, like I said, he's already proven exciting and has the grounded knee TKO. Everybody go look that up. You've probably seen it on the you've probably seen it on the Rizin highlight reels before because it's a sensational, and I think it was in a cage event too. So he has a cage experience and superior rule set experience. So if it turns into a striking battle, then Kuramoto is going to, I think, has the edge. Does that answer your question, Drew? Is that what you're wanting to hear?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Jay, Chris, I'll throw it to you. Any of those questions I asked, JayWolf, you're more than welcome to answer, as well as if you got.
I'm going to just say this one thing real quick, because I know that we're running up against it, so to speak. So I'm going to just say this. I think Kuramoto is going to win off of experience alone. It may be a must-win for Ota, because if he loses this fight, he'll drop to 2-3 in his 5 MMA fights, all of which with Rizin. But I do think that Kuramoto is going to have a lot more experience going into this fight. I just hope that he doesn't. I just hope that barring a decision, he finishes it off in 3. But who knows? It may possibly be a big decision for Ota, especially if he. Let's just say if he keeps his submission game, his ground game down pat, I think he might win that fight via decision. But I'm thinking Kazuma Kuramoto via third round stoppage, actually.
So I've also gotten word that Kuramoto's changed up his style of fighting. Since he did train he trained with Senator Henry Cejudo at I think they got the camp already. Or whoever's Cejudo chains. So we might see a different Kuramoto potentially. We may not see the Blazer, I like to call him, the guy who blitzes you in this fight. But I think, listen, we're all unanimous. Kuramoto wins. I think he can knock out Ota. I think Kuramoto still has strong striking. He's the wrestling. It'll be interesting to see if anybody wrestles in this fight. As well, the submission game. I think I would definitely put Kuramoto a much better submission guy than Ota. 10 days of the week. So yeah, listen, Ota's he lost Yuki Matoya. Yuki Matoya beat Kuramoto as well. I just don't think that Ota, I think Ota has been thrown too fast into the fire. I know you said that, JayWolf. I don't like that, especially when you're trying to build up a guy who has an Olympic level pedigree. I think that's somebody you gotta build up. So if that's what they want to do, if they say, "Hey, give me your toughest fight," okay, fine, whatever. But I think, unfortunately, this will be another loss for Ota. But it could be an exciting fight. I'm hoping that this will be a fight that maybe if we get a suplex. Maybe we'll get what is it? In New Japan Pro Wrestling when they do they no sell the suplex. That spot, Christian, where they no sell the suplexes. Maybe we'll get that where they both suplex each other and then they just no sell it and the other guy suplexes next to the other guy and it just becomes a suplex fuck fest. I couldn't think of the term. I just said suplex fuck fest. But we're gonna finish off the show talking about the co-main and main because they're both very connected. Because they'll have implications.
Combine them? Why can't we do them separately? Come on.
No, JayWolf, we're running out of time, so we gotta combine them. Yutaka Saito, Ren Hiromoto, and Juntaro Ushiku, Mikuru Asakura.
You know what? I think I can go ahead and just answer one of these questions.
Yeah.
Do you think that the winners should face off against one another for a future featherweight title opportunity? My answer would be yes, especially considering the fact that Ren Hiromoto is a hot commodity right now. Yeah, I know he's up. Yeah, I know he's 2-2. But if he beat the first Rizin featherweight champion, well, second actually, in Yutaka Saito, he's going to basically brag about it on social media, saying that he wants a title shot and that he can take down Kleber Koike Erickson, blah, 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 blah. But if he ends up winning this fight and possibly facing Ushiku or Asakura, can you imagine how much notice Rizin will get domestically because of this fight? If it happens?
It'll be huge. It'll be absolutely huge. So, I mean, what Jay Chris is talking about is that if Ren Hiromoto wins and Mikuru Asakura wins, then that potential matchup is going to be is huge. It's going to sell like hotcakes, especially in Japan, because
that's bigger than a title match. That's bigger than an actual title match. That really is. That's the honest answer.
On the minus side, do people really want to see a rematch between Saito and Ushiku?
Sure, why not?
No.
Okay, well,
no. That's my
personal opinion. I
don't mind. I'm not the biggest fan of Ushiku. Well, I'm not the biggest fan of Ushiku. Saito as well.
I mean, come on, dude. He's the fighting bull for a reason.
Sure. Good for him. Yutaka Saito also took a year off. Remember, the last fight they had was against Mikuru, and the one moment of that fight that really told me a lot about where his physical form might be. There was a moment where he got stunned, by a shot, by a strike. I think it was by a hook by Mikuru, and he just kind of stood there. His body just kind of froze. I don't know if you remember that, JayWolf. Do you remember that? Where he just
which bout was this in? Which bout was this?
This was the second Mikuru fight that Saito and Mikuru had.
Okay, and you're saying Mikuru froze him.
Yeah,
right.
And do you remember the best comparison I can think of is the Will Brooks Michael Chandler fight, the second fight, where Michael Chandler just kind of his body just kind of like that, if you remember that fight. And I don't know. He said in an interview that he did with Gong magazine, E-Fight, Saito said he took a year off voluntarily to just basically train, get better, all that good stuff. I mean, is that enough for Ren? Listen, Ren is a great striker, and he's a better striker than Mikuru. But obviously, Saito's a better MMA fighter. I don't know. I feel like a few shots from Ren, and that can put down Saito. JayWolf, do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. Ren has knockout power. He's an excellent striker, like you were saying. This is a huge test for him. Remember, we didn't even we were upset about this because we want the Hiromoto Asakura matchup because we know how huge that is for Japan. And we're worried that Yutaka Saito, being a former champion, has one of the best superior rule set finishes in Epic Rizin in this new era, this new golden era that we're in. And you know, he has a real possibility of beating down Hiromoto here. So, you know, it's just Drew, your question was, do we think that Ren can knock out Saito? Yes, he could, but at the same time, this is a huge test for Ren. And I'm personally worried that Yutaka Saito is going to beat Ren. And because, I mean, like you said, he's a former champion. He's got grappling, got striking. I mean, this is a really big test for Ren, but that's what makes it so cool. That's why it's a co-main event. You know, that's why. And even if both Ren and Asakura lose, or if only one of them lose, they could do that matchup sometime in the future. No problem. Ren is still in his 20s. Mikuru is still in his 20s. I mean,
but Mikuru has his MMA life is near the end. Clearly, he's doing the stuff of breaking down. And so I think that MMA is in the rearview mirror for him, or at least not as much as he used to be, because he used to be a lot more frequent fighter. But now he's bigger than the promotion. He's their Connor, so he's got no incentive to really fight.
Well, I mean, the fight with Ren could be a huge incentive for him, because that could be basically Rizin's the match with Takeru Tenshin. But it won't be at that level, obviously, but it could be similar because, you know, Asakura was one of the most popular fighters in Japan, and so is Ren, and it's going to be like you were saying, Drew. It's bigger than a title fight, you know, and so. But it'd be great if
funny story actually about that. So at the last Rizin show in Osaka, Chihiro, I don't know if you saw the Rizin Confessions, not the most recent one, but the one before. The one that just came out. Ren said that he pointed out that Chihiro Suzuki was in the audience and nobody was coming up to him. So just a real funny anecdote. But what about Ushiku and Mikuru? You think will we get Asakura Action Bro for this fight, or we're gonna get Fighting Bull?
I sure hope we get the Asakura Action Bro. I mean, this is, you know, this main event for a reason, because Mikuru Asakura is one of the Asakura Action Bros and one of the most popular fighters in Japan. And, you know, Ushiku is a former champion. And I know you guys don't like him because he's got the wrestling heavy style where he grapples a lot and is, I guess, kind of boring. But at the same time, I mean, he's got the skills. So Mikuru is going to have to bring it. He's going to have to show that he can, you know, he's going to have to show takedown defense, defensive wrestling, everything. And he's going to have to show that, you know, he can beat a former champion and outstrike him, because I don't see Asakura out-grappling him. Do you? I don't think so. So it's going to come down to the striking. Is Mikuru, and hey, this is the guy, Mikuru Asakura, who got in there with Floyd Money Mayweather and actually rocked him in that exhibition. That was probably one of the best exhibitions.
Okay, as soon as you start talking about Floyd, this is where I gotta go to Jay Chris.
I did it on purpose just for you.
Do you have a winner for these two fights?
You know, I do. Oh, you're talking about Jay Chris? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Jay Chris.
I think Ren Hiromoto is probably gonna stun Saito. Whatever. Well, he doesn't really have that much of a good ground game, even though he does know how to work on his submission game. I mean, if not, he would have never went to Rufus Sport in Milwaukee just to work on his fight game. But I do think that Saito's going to get stunned by Hiromoto. I think Hiromoto's probably going to win that via second round knockout, like what happened with his loss to Kyohei Hagiwara. And I do think that in this in the main event between Mikuru and Juntaro, you say, Andrew, that Mikuru is not focused on this fight, is not focused on the fight game anymore. I think he got one more left in him. I think that he gonna probably beat up Ushiku, make the fighting bull tremble. And like I said, we're gonna see eventually Mikuru versus Ren for the opportunity to face off against Kleber Koikeevs, and it's gonna get massive numbers in Japan.
So I think unfortunately, I don't think Saito, I think his career is definitely winding down. He's not looked good in the last 3 fights that he's had, and that Mikuru, the way that Mikuru's done him, really that was like.
Come to think of it, do you think that if one of these two fighters, let's just say Ushiku and Saito, we know we don't want to see a rematch between these two.
No.
But what's the possibility of Ushiku retiring after this fight against Asakura, or Saito retiring against Hiromoto?
Saito more likely, not Ushiku. I don't think Ushiku at all. But we'll have to see. I think Ren will actually knock out. I think he will actually knock out Saito. I don't think that nice. Saito's chin is going to be able to put Ren striking. And Ren has looked great. He looked great against Yamasu, able to defend the takedowns and all that. I think that Saito's probably a better MMA fighter than Yamasu. So I think he's definitely prepared. Ren will be prepared for that. Mikuru and Ushiku can be an interesting fight. Asakura though has looked. I don't even remember the last. it was against Saito. So yeah, Mikuru's. I'm no longer the Mikuru fan club as I used to be. I'm more of a Kai now fan when he doesn't break his hand. But I think Mikuru will probably win that. He's the better MMA fighter overall. But the funny thing about Ushiku is that he somehow wins fights that he shouldn't win. So I think the likelihood that Ushiku beats Asakura is actually higher than the odds of Saito beating Ren, if that makes sense. That main event could be boring though. It could be boring if neither of them have realize the stakes for this. I hope they do. And Babu Jack has a great point. They will book Ren Mikuru at some point, win or lose. And he hopes they both lose. We can only hope. And he also said Benola looked great. He also said that Benola looked great against Dominator. That's true. And he only lost that fight because of grabbing the ropes. Before we head out, though, we have one quick question from Falling Star, and this will be for you, JayWolf. Who do you think will be the rising fighter in the most likely last Floyd exhibition? Obviously, the dream is Manny. I do think they'll do everything in their power to make that happen. So, thoughts?
Yeah. No, he said exactly what he's asking for, the final Floyd opponent in Epic Rizin. And he brings up Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, which, as you guys know, from the Rizin chat, Discord chat, everybody should get in on that, is that I've been predicting that, this is what they're building up to. That's why they signed Manny for multiple fights. They're going to do some exhibitions and eventually build into the May Pac 2 super fight rematch, either be an exhibition or a full-on boxing match.
Well, it won't be a full-on boxing match. It'll be exhibition. And my quick answer is that I don't care about the last Floyd, and I don't want to see Manny in either. That's the easy answer. Chris, I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on that.
I wouldn't be surprised if it goes up to the final meeting between Mayweather and Pacquiao, even though they're going to have to do it big and probably go over budget. Maybe bring over either Michael Buffer or Jimmy Lennon Jr. just to be the ring announcer, but still don't. All I'm caring about right now is not exhibition boxing for Rizin. What I'm caring about right now is the action that we're going to see over these next 2 weekends with this Rizin Landmark 5 and next weekend Rizin 42 is going to be something incredible to watch. And, with you getting the event on Fight TV,
Oh,
half
quickly,
pound,
hold on,
do
Chris, before you finish. Just quickly, JayWolf, 3 fights you're looking forward to on this Rizin landmark.
How
Landfill.
can you cut Jay Chris off when he's doing a promo for the fight bundle? Man.
Oh, no, we can do it at the end. I just want to get 3 fights that you're looking forward to.
All right. Hey, Jay Chris, I was with you, brother. I was liking that promo you're cutting. Okay. So the 3 fights on the card, you know, of course, my girl Reina, my hot girl fighter, the epitome of a hot girl fighter, just beautiful woman, beautiful striker, beautiful fighter, everything. Reina Kubota's fight against a Kabate Global crossover fighter. That is definitely one of the fights to look forward to. And then the people's main event. You know this is going to be one of them. Koji Takeda, Suplex Machine, and Luis Killer Gustavo. I mean, both these guys are action fighters, proven in crossover collaboration fights with foreigners, proven on the superior rule set already. This just feels like it's going to be action packed. That's why Drew was called the people's main event and everything. So that one, and then the third one I'm gonna have to pick between one of the two, the co-main and the main. They're both basically 2 main events, but I think I'm gonna pick the co-main because I just like Ren. You guys know I like Ren, and I like Yutaka Saito because as a former champion, he had one of the best superior rule set finishes in the sport. And all right, Jay Chris, I know can't we do another hour, guys? Let's do 2 more hours. Come on.
No, we can talk off mic. Jay Chris, 3 fights you're looking forward to.
3 fights I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
So Yoshi Sudario versus Rocky Martinez. Rocky's coming back in to Rizin after a 3-year layoff and losing 3 out of 4. So hopefully he's going to be ready to kick some more ass. The second fight I'm looking forward to, sorry, Claire Lopez. Sorry, Reina. I am going to pick Mei Yamaguchi versus Kana Asakura because Mei has been in purgatory the last 7 years, and she's going to take it all out on one of Rizin's golden girls, so to speak. And the fight that I'm looking forward to the most would have to be the fight right before the intermission. Koji Takeda versus Luis Killer Gustavo. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a great lightweight bout. It's going to be a great event overall. And if you don't have the event circled down on your calendar, let me remind y'all again, it's going to take place this weekend, April 29th from the Yoyogi National Gymnasium in Shibuya, Indo, Tokyo, Japan. The event will air live at, go on, say the time, Andrew. What time is it going to air in the East Coast?
Well, 4 fucking a.m. That's the time.
1 a.m. Pacific, West Coast.
4 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Central, 1 a.m. Pacific. The event will be live on the Fight TV app and Fight.tv. And if you get the bundle with Rizin 42, you will be paying half off, $30 instead of $60 in total for both events. Be sure to go to Fight.tv or download the Fight TV app from your iOS, Android, or mobile store of choice. Wherever you get your smart device from, download the Fight TV app and, like they say, hashtag fight like you mean it. But still, though, Andrew, I think it's about that time you need to go ahead and end your own damn show.
Yeah.
We're tired of plugging each other.
Yeah. Okay. So quickly, 3 fights I'm looking forward to. Gustavo Takeda, easy answer. Rocky Martinez, Sutario, heavyweight, smashy smash, and Mei Yamaguchi and Kana. Always good to see Yamaguchi back in Rizin. So, but yes, JayWolf, where can people reach you?
Okay, yes, you can go. I'm on Twitter at JayYolf1. That's how you know it's me because it's misspelled with 2 Y's, that's been my handle for years since 2006. JayWolf1, and you follow me, I follow back. Also, tomorrow, Teep to the Junk, Bellator Guru, Teep to the Junk is having a show, a Bellator Hawaii doubleheader recap, where he also lets me preview the upcoming Rizin events. So I'm going to be previewing this, talking some more about this epic Rizin landmark caged event and the numbered event coming up a week later. These next 2 weeks are back-to-back Rizin events. First, this landmark 5 cage event, and then 42, the numbered event in the ring, which has some Bellator crossover collaboration super fights on it. So that's why he's going to have graphics errors. Make sure you guys tune into that show. It should be around dropping tomorrow night, Monday night. We have to do it late night because we possibly might be getting an international a guest, Santiago from the Bellator zone, who is a rankings panelist, could possibly be on as well to talk about how the fights from Bellator Hawaii will change the rankings and his rankings and how his explanation for his rankings and stuff. And of course, but the course of real attraction is going to be me hyping up the Epic Rizin events coming up for you guys. No, but seriously, it's a great show. Check it out. It's Teep to the Junk. His YouTube channel is Random Acoustic Thoughts, and it's the same screen name for me, JayWolf. And it's going to be called the Ridiculously Long Recap. Teep and JayWolf's Ridiculously Long Recap. Bellator Hawaii Ridiculously Long Recap. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I just want to thank you guys. Since this is the outro, right? I just want to thank you guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to thank you guys again for having me on. And thank you guys for doing this show because, like I said, this is one of the ones I know you guys aren't particularly looking forward to it much because it's in a cage. But I just want to say again, reiterate the main points about why the cage show is so awesome. The first time
we don't have much time, JayWolf. Unfortunately, I have to cut you off.
Real quick. First time since the original UFC, the actual full superior rule sets allowed in the cage. This is only fifth time that it's been in the cage in the Epic Rizin, this new era. 2 of those the 4 times has been event of the year candidate, so it's got a 50% chance of being event of the year. And the cage, for some reason, just brings the action with superior rule set. Maybe it's because there's no corners. They can't get them and they can maneuver around or something like that. But it just, for some reason, the superior rule set in the cage just brings the action. So make sure you guys get that bundle. And you don't want to check. You don't want to miss this landmark event and the Rizin 42 event. And there was some more stuff I want to say. Oh, and about the cage, about how it gets these fighters prepared to fight overseas in America. Several of these fighters you're going to see on this landmark card. We could possibly see in the future, either in Bellator or in Dario's case, possibly in the UFC, or possibly there are going to be some collaboration super fights in the future with Bellator crossover collaboration, start just like the New Year's Eve collaboration mega event. So there's just so many great storyline and reasons to tune in. So just make sure you tune in and get that bundle.
Okay, again, so now I got to take quick things out.
That's all right. Hey, next time it's 4 hours. Come on, 4 hours.
No, that's for your show, T. Follow Jay Christian Gary at Chris Gary 92. Follow him at the awesome Focus Fights as well.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter at Chris Gary 92. You can follow me on Instagram at Christian Gary 92, and you can check out Focus Fights on Linktree. The Linktree URL is at the beginning of our Twitter handle for the Focus Fights audio podcast at Focus Fights _AUD. And Andrew, you can be followed at abenja1, ABENJA1, or on Twitter at We Are Rizin Pod, WEARERIZINPOD, all in one word. And we can just go ahead and put over that you can check out not only this podcast.
Chris, you have to. I have to do this quickly. I'm sorry. I know. You can check out the podcast just about everywhere you get your podcast. Okay. Yep. Yes, follow the Discord and follow myself at MMA Sucker. Get the Rizin Show bundle on Fight TV. And with that, I'm just gonna do my Lenny Hart impression. We are Rizin.
Pride never dies. Pride is rising.
Thank you, everybody.